primarily what we wanted to do with this webinar was show you how to get some of the early things done with FunnelFLARE. We'll assume that you've already gone through the wizard, maybe you've already seen a demo. So this presentation is more about kind of getting some of those early things done and what to do. Maybe before we get too far, one of the things that I'd really recommend for everyone out there is to kind of take a look at their salespeople, their outbound callers, and try to find out where they're inefficient, like where they're spending time that is very repetitive actions, what seems to be taking up the most of their time in every day. For some people, this might be like keeping like a diary or a journal of where they're spending time. But even doing this for 1 or 2 days, you're going to get some really big insights on what could be automated and where you're going to get the biggest benefit. So this is really where I would start if I was deploying FunnelFLARE for myself, because I would definitely want to start with the stuff that's going to give me the biggest bang for my buck. So lots of different places to look into. You might want to look into writing notes in the CRM, follow-up emails, just take a log again or a diary of how you spend your time each day, and that'll probably give you some pretty big clues. If you find like I'm spending an hour doing X, or I'm spending half an hour every day just leaving voicemails and doing follow-up emails, like those are going to be some good tips on where to put your priority. Now, in terms of today, we're going to be going over a couple of things. We're going to go through some call tracking, how to set up recording and transcription on there, setting up personal templates for call follow-ups and that kind of thing, building an appointment scheduler, some basic drip campaigns, and then we're going to look into how to best kind of integrate the automation and manual activities. So how to kind of do the tango between automation and sales. And then we'll look at as well our 3-touch sequence and how to modify that, and some different ideas on how to use that sales sequence. Before I get too far, if you want to learn more about this, there's 3 places that I'd highly recommend. One of them is the FunnelFLARE blog. That has a lot of our new features that are popped up there. It also has some really in-depth article and some sales sequences that you may want to take a look into. We have videos on YouTube that are also handy, and we also have our support center at engage.funnelflare.io. So if you wanted to engage a support person or ask a quick question over chat, that's a place to go. So the first place I wanted to talk about was call tracking and adding track numbers for different areas or different reps, and what's involved with that. So this is just a placeholder slide. I'm just going to hop right into the platform, because I think that's really where we can get our biggest benefit. So right now I'm inside assets phone numbers, and I can see I got a couple of different phone numbers here. It's very easy to add these phone numbers. If you need to, you can just hit this call tracking number. I can pick one in any country that we have here for a local one, or I could pick a mobile phone number as well. So a local one in the US, I could search for example, Phoenix, and search for those. And I'm going to see a bunch of phone numbers that are going to come up. Now I'm looking for one that's, I don't know, maybe a little bit catchy. Maybe I'm looking for like a desirable area code, something that I'm going to like, and something that has the capabilities that I want, whether it be texting or MMS or whatever the case might be. So after I've selected the phone number that I like, I'm going to choose select, and then I can configure this phone number. So here's where, okay, where do I need this to forward to? Because probably what's going to happen, you're going to build one of these phone numbers, you're going to get one in the platform, you're going to do some calling out from it. What happens if someone calls that number? You probably want that to, if you're out and about, head over to your cell phone number. So that's where I would pop my cell phone number in there, so that again, if I get a call in, I can get it forwarded to my cell. Same idea with text messages. If someone texts that phone number back, I need it to get to my cell phone number so I can see it. So I'm going to do the same thing over there. Now, I can customize the text message in what it shows right here. I'm just going to avoid that for now, just because there's a lot of different options in there. The whisper message is something you might want to consider if you're using a cell phone that you use for other means. So if you're in one of these companies that's bring your own device, where you use your own personal cell phone for work and for personal, a whisper message is a nice way of letting you know why you're getting the phone call. So whisper message might be FunnelFLARE, for example. So what this is going to do is I'm going to get a phone call on my cell. I pick it up, and it'll say FunnelFLARE in like a robot voice. So that's going to tell me, oh, okay, this is a work thing. Okay, perfect. I'll now I know how to respond to this call or how to answer that call and that kind of thing. The other two things that I'm just going to point out right now are recording and transcripts, because recording and transcripts are very interesting in terms of being able to like listen to calls afterwards. So if I make calls with this platform, being able to listen into them after the fact is really handy. Sometimes I have calls with clients and maybe a month goes by and they start telling me about, oh yeah, are we doing this thing over here? And it's completely like it's out of my mind. Sorry, it was a month ago. Might as well have not even happened. That's where call recording can be very handy. So I can go back, I can re-listen to that call. Oh yeah, that's what they're talking about. Oh, it sounds like maybe they misunderstood or maybe they forgot or maybe I forgot. So getting call recording is very good for that kind of thing. It's also good for like a CYA, cover your butt if clients forget or if they think you said something. It's really good for that kind of stuff as well. Call transcripts is actually taking that and putting it to text. So using software to take whatever's said in voice and put it to text. And the nice thing there is that kind of stuff can be posted to your CRM. So this is really saving some time in CRM note taking. You should probably still take notes as a best practice, just to kind of hit the highlights. Here's the action items. Here's what I need to do based on this call. But just recording and transcribing is going to take a lot of the work off of your plate. By all means, if your salespeople or your outbound callers, if all they're doing on a call is clacking away at their keyboard and trying to get everything that's said in the call on that on that document they're writing, this is going to save a bunch of time and it's going to allow them to talk to the prospect instead of just typing the whole time. So again, this is a great way to save time and one that we'd highly recommend that people use. There's lots of different ways of making the calls out. We're not going to cover that today, but you can call out using the FunnelFLARE extension. You can use power dialer lists. There's lots of different ways of making calls out. But again, we're not going to cover that today just because we only have so much time to kind of go through some of this. The next thing I wanted to cover is personal templates. Personal templates are template email, text, and voicemails that you use, that each salesperson uses when talking to prospects and clients. So these are really good for repetitive communications. Where I love using these is follow-up comms immediately after a call or a voicemail. So if I call a prospect and I get their voicemail, you better believe I'm going to use a pre-recorded voicemail and a pre-set up email. The other interesting thing that is really good for these is common emails that need to be sent. If you need to send like a common follow-up, a link to a very standard data sheet that you send out or something like that, those follow-up emails that can be sent with personal templates are really good to use. And where we get to those is we go under our profile, we go profile settings, and then we get to a page like this, and underneath preferences, we find these personal templates. And this is where we can set these up, these email or voicemails. Again, these are personal just for one salesperson. If you're doing a whole bunch of salespeople and you want them all to have the same thing, I wouldn't use these. But one of the things that's personal is voicemails. So if I call a prospect, I'm going to leave this voicemail for them. And I can see here that I have a voicemail. The template type is voicemail. If I wanted to, I can make this an email and a voicemail. That can be handy if I call someone, I get their voicemail, I'm going to click the button that says, I have to rename this here, and email. So my template's called VM1 and email 1. And what this is going to do is on the beep, I hit the button. It's going to play my recording, my voicemail recording, and it's also going to send an email. Tried getting a hold of you. And here's where I can write that email in that's going to be accompanying that other voicemail that I send along. So I could say hi. Maybe I'm going to throw in like a first name here. Yeah, grab that up there. And here's my default. Maybe for my default, I'm just going to use like a comma. So, hi, Bob, or whoever I'm trying to reach. Just tried calling. If you could hit me back, that'd be great. And that's just an example of a quick little email that I could include in this template. So now I can use that when calling prospects, and it's going to save me a little bit of time every day. Now, if I'm an outbound prospecting style of a person, if I have to call like 50 to 100 people a day, and I have to leave 60 voicemails every day, boy, this is going to add up very quickly. That 5 minutes of time that I need to spend leaving the voicemail and doing the follow-up email, I'm going to save some decent time every time I use this. So even that five minutes times 60 is going to add up very quickly and save me a ton of time and allow me to get more done in my day. So personal templates, definitely very good. The other one that you might want to have is, okay, let's say you contacted the person. They say, yeah, that does sound interesting. Okay, yeah, I am interested in your offer. It would be great to have an offer email template that is standard and is something that I can quickly send during the call and have sent out to the client. So here's where I would put the subject line, the link to the offer, all that kind of stuff. And I could use this from inside the Power Dialer interface, or I could use this from, there's lots of different places where I can use these templates. So that's going to make it quick for me to follow up and complete the call and move on. Again, we're trying to save time where possible here. So that's the personal templates area. The next thing that we'd look at is getting appointment scheduling going. Now, within appointment scheduling, there's a couple things we need to do. I'm just going to step through them with you. If you've created the user, you might have a page that looks like this. So here's my calendar. It doesn't say it's linked to the calendar. It's just kind of sitting here doing nothing. So let's go ahead and finish that thing off. And these are actually pretty easy. You first need to synchronize it or authorize it with your Office 365 or your Google Workspace, I think is what they're calling it today, account. So I'm going to go ahead and go, I'm on Google, and I'm going to go Adriel Michaud at FunnelFLARE.io, and I'm going to add that in, and then I go authenticate it. And when I authenticate, it's going to say choose it, allow, go back to your page, and now I am authenticated on this one. Now I can go in and select my availability. So nope, not Sunday. Nope, definitely not Sunday. Let's do, I don't know, 9 to 4, Monday through Friday. Ooh, you know what? Not during lunch hour, please. We're all working from home these days, but I still want to eat lunch. Okay, so those are all broken off. Now, when I look into scheduling, there's a couple of things to think about here. This first one, prevent clients from scheduling new appointments less than. This is really to keep people from throwing surprises in your calendar. So 4 hours, I'm game for 4 hours. That's fine. So I think that's fine for me. But some people out there might want to have like 2 days, for example, depending on how their scheduling goes and how much prep time they need for each of these different meetings. No more than, for myself, I think 2 weeks is enough. So I'm going to just prevent people from booking like 3, 4, 5 a month into the future. Let's just go 2 weeks. Appointment length can be no less than, so here's where I can select how much time they can choose. I feel like a lot of my appointments, like they think it's going to be half an hour, and really like we definitely need an hour to go. So I'm just going to say like the minimum an hour, max an hour, default is an hour, just to keep things simple. Appointments must be at least 0 minutes apart. This is to prevent bookending, and I hate bookending meetings. So I'm gonna say at least 15 minutes apart. And what that's gonna do is prevent people from just dominating my calendar and booking absolutely every little piece of time in there. I need at least 15 minutes in between meetings so I can prep for them a little bit, right? Appointments can start now this is a personal style choice. For my calendar, I don't want to have like a million different options in there, and I'll show you why in a minute here. So I'm just going to say every 30 minutes. One appointment can be booked in every time slot, so don't multi-book me. Let's see here. Show them in their time zone. Yep. One option that I want to just show you at the bottom here, automatically add meeting to the prospect's calendar. This is going to make a shared calendar meeting between you and the prospect that they can decline and whatever. Now, you may want to add this in to make it easy. The other possibility though is if you want your calendar to have more information, you may not want to check this right now because again, that calendar item is shared between you and the prospect. And we're just working on a way to double these up right now. So we're working on a technique that'll allow you to have your cake and eat it too. But I'm just gonna leave that off for now. Next, we have scheduling page and email and that kind of thing. So I'm just going to save my my appointments calendar here, and let's go and start messing around with this page here because I think that you really should customize your booking page. This is the link you're going to send people to have them book with you, and it's also going to be the page that they go to see your calendar and whatnot. So let's go ahead and edit that page. There's a couple of things right off the hop that I'm going to want to edit. The heading at the top, that kind of thing. So book, oh, that's boring. Okay, so account business name. Nah, let's put my name in there. Book a meeting with Adriel and Michaud. Maybe I want to put my title in there just so people know that I'm the right person to be talking to. VP of Marketing and Sales at FunnelFLARE. And I don't know, maybe I'll center that. Maybe I'll make the text a little bit bigger. Maybe I would like put my face on here. Like one of the things that I've seen some people do with calendar items is add like a mugshot, a profile photo of themselves to these pages, just to make it a little bit more personal and to make it so that the person you're talking to is real. That's the thing that we're trying to do when we add a photo to these. But so far so good. I think we're good to go with this calendar. And now this appointment scheduler is good to go, and I will be able to send this to clients, and they'd be able to book a time in my calendar and whatnot. So you can see here that we can book a couple of times for today, or for tomorrow. We've got anywhere from 9 to 3 in half-hour increments, which is exactly what I want to see. So this is just, again, a basic example. You can customize these however which way you want to, and I would recommend that you do so. Let's see. The other thing that you'd want to do after this is test it. So actually book one of these things in your calendar, take a look at what it looks like from the client's perspective, and see if it is doing what you want it to do. If you want to customize the emails that get sent out to the client, that'll be inside lead processing, appointment processing. This is where we're going to see the emails that get sent out to the clients that confirm that the meeting was booked. So for example, I'm not using GoToMeeting right now, so we would go up here, email the client. I could take a look at what the client meeting would look like right within here. So it's going to come out from the person that's claimed the prospect, which would be me. And it's going to, this is pretty routine, pretty system email style, right? Day, time, duration, time zone. We'll call you using your number. You might want to customize this with however which way you're going to do the meeting. We'll meet at our office, and here's our office location, or whatever else. So you can edit this email how you want to for it to go to your clients. The next thing that I'd want to look into is email automation and some drip email campaigns, as well as some sales sequences. So one of the things that I want you just to consider, a couple things before we dive right into it. Keep drip campaigns and sales sequences focused on a goal. We don't want a sales sequence that is trying to replicate our entire business from start to end. I think that's where we can really run into issues. That's where we get into some weird situations. Whereas keeping them to a very specific goal is a lot easier. It's a lot easier to see if it's doing what you want it to do. And it's also easier to build and consider all the different possibilities for. So the first one I want to show you is an unresponsive prospect drip campaign. So this kind of a drip campaign is the prospect's ghosting you. You tried calling them, you tried emailing them, they're still not doing anything. Maybe you talked to them one time. Now what? Now what are we doing with this prospect? So in terms of this drip campaign, really what we wanted to do is we want the system to get a response. We want to add the prospect to this drip campaign, and we want the system to follow up and get something out of them. So that's the whole idea with this thing. Now, considering that we want this campaign to get a response from the prospect, what do we want for goals? What do we want for kicking them out of the campaign? So when I look at my overview for this one, I definitely want to stop processing them once they've completed a goal, and I'll show you the goals in just a minute. And I only want to allow them to go through this campaign once. I don't want to re-add people to this thing. If they do, they're going to find out that I'm using automation, because my emails will be very similar to the ones I sent to them the last time they ghosted. So up to you whether you check that one or not. I'm leaving it checked because I only want them to do it once. Next, what goals do I want? What signals am I looking for to kick someone out of this campaign? So underneath my goals here, any form submit. So if they book an appointment with me, that's considered a form submit. If they call in on one of those tracked phone numbers, that will kick them out. Oh, you know what else I want? I want email reply. If they reply to one of my emails, that's a win. So I'm going to put that in there. And yeah, only once. And let's save and close that one. Perfect. Okay, so if they reply to any of the emails, that's also going to kick them out of this campaign. Perfect. Okay, so I've got some of those parameters set up. Next, let's look at the actual campaign itself. So this is a user triggered campaign, which means I would add someone to this campaign from my CRM, or from inside FunnelFLARE, or from the FunnelFLARE Chrome extension. Lots of different places where I can add people to this campaign. This is, again, something I'm doing when that prospect is not responding to my attempts to contact them. The first thing I do in here, in this one, is just check if they have an email address. If they have an email address, great, we'll use email. If they don't, I guess we'll text them. I guess we could send them a text message. So the red arrow is where we follow if the result of this query is negative. So we check if they have an email. They don't have an email. Okay, well, send them a text message, and it could be, hey, trying to get a hold of you, hit me back, or whatever you want. Now I could add some wait periods to this and have like a full text message campaign on here to try to get a hold of them, or I could just leave it as that. Again, that part's up to you. You probably have a process or a standard operating procedure. When prospects are ghosting, we do this. We do 3 calls, then 3 emails, and a text message or whatever. So ideally, this will mirror that after the person is done trying to do whatever they've done. So after our caller or a salesperson has tried doing what they can, this handles the rest. So if they do have an email, then we move on. So we assume that the person has just tried calling, they couldn't get a hold of them, they're like, nope, they're ghosting. They add them to the campaign, they immediately get email 1. And email 1 says, hey, we're trying to get a hold of you, yada, yada, yada. Next, we're going to wait 3 days. So we can have these wait states in here. Now you can choose what you want to. We've got quite a few different options on these waits. So we could wait until the first Monday, for example, or we could wait for the first weekday, or maybe we don't like the Mondays and Fridays. Maybe we like Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays. So we can choose which of these we want to wait for. Then we can have another email, and then we can have a wait. And then at the end of this, we probably want to like change tactics. So we've been trying email, hasn't been successful. We probably want to change our channel to something else, like maybe a reminder to add them to LinkedIn, some other way of trying to get a hold of them. In this instance, I'm using FunnelFLARE's tasking system to remind the salesperson to add the contact to LinkedIn. The next example, I just want to show another drip campaign. This is a book an appointment with me campaign. It's a little bit simpler. User triggered, wait 2 days, email, wait 5 days, come forward, wait a week, email. These kind of basic drip campaigns are very easy to build, and they're very easy to add information in, add in a little bit of information about what's going on and how we're trying to get a hold of them. Again, we can personalize these so that they don't all have the same exact text. They can be a little bit personalized to the prospect, and get those out. Now, one thing that I don't know if you've noticed here, but we're kind of doing a little bit of a dance here with automation and sales. So with this revive unresponsive prospects, the dance was the salesperson was trying to call the prospect, not getting a hold of them. Maybe they're using some personal templates to email and follow up with the prospect, and now they're done. So in this, it's a very cold handoff. They have a hard, no, they're ghosting. Please, automation, take care of it. The automation does some stuff. But then at the end here, you see we're actually handing this back to the salesperson. So it's important sometimes to include people inside your drip campaigns, or if you get a little bit more complex into a sales sequence. And it's important to use the way that we talk to salespeople is by messages inside the CRM, messages inside FunnelFLARE. We can also use tasks to tell the salespeople when it's their turn to do something inside of a workflow. And that's really brought us to the topic of tasking. When we think about these sequences, we can kind of think of them as like playing a game of ping pong, maybe racquetball. Maybe racquetball is a better example, but two people playing the same game, and then in terms of the game that's running through our sales sequence, and our two players are the automation through FunnelFLARE and the salesperson. And the way that the automation kicks things back to the salesperson can vary depending on how you have things set up. So if you have a CRM, if you are on Pipedrive or Salesforce or any of the other many CRMs that we directly support, you probably have a great option here in terms of creating tasks directly in that CRM. And if your sales organization already uses those tasks, you're good to go. I would just use those tasks. If you don't use tasks under the CRM, or if the CRM tasking system isn't very good and you want something a little bit more fully featured, you can create tasks and run tasks under FunnelFLARE. It's very easy to add dashboard widgets that show your tasks, that help prioritize the tasks, that help show reporting on tasks. So that's all built into the platform. But again, if you have a CRM, you can opt for just using tasking under that. The third option, that's kind of like, I don't know, maybe an in-between, or maybe it's just tasking on FunnelFLARE, is adding prospects to a power dial list. Now, power dial lists are these lists that we use to call people one after another. They're really good for outbound callers who need to stay focused on calling prospects, and adding people to a power dial list is kind of a way of giving them a task, saying, okay, it's time for you to call this prospect. So the next sequence I want to show you is our 3-touch sequence. And this looks a little bit complex, but I'm going to walk you through it. It's actually a very powerful way of performing outreach. First, I'm going to show you just our bog standard one, and I'm going to show you how we've customized it and how we use it for ourselves. So the idea here is that I would add contacts to FunnelFLARE. I would trigger them. I would add them all to this campaign, and you can do this in bulk from the contact screen. You can just check the boxes of a bunch of different prospects and add them in bulk to this campaign. And what's going to happen is we're going to add them to the 3-touch list. This is a power dial list, and this makes it easy again for our outbound caller. All they have to do is look at their power dialer list every day and see who they need to reach out to. I would be remiss to avoid talking about the goals on this campaign. So the goals on this campaign would be initial contact. Let's make initial contact. Let's get a beachhead with the prospect, and that's all we're trying to do with this entire campaign. Once we've got that beachhead, we're going to put them in another campaign, do something else with them. So again, that's just the whole sole focus of this thing, is getting first touch or first contact with a prospect. So the first thing we're going to do is add them to that 3-touch list. We're going to set a couple of fields. These, like, you can pay attention to them or not. It doesn't really matter. They're just for your information. And then we wait. And then we've got this wait state over here. This wait state is going to wait until we perform a call. And the call is one of these outcomes over here. So realistically, from the salesperson's point of view, this is what it's going to look like. I log in the morning, I go to my power dialer session, I go to my 3-touch list, and I start calling people. And these are all people that need to be called. They'll all have a lead processing status. I can take a look at what kind of information I've got about them. I could use a phone script if I have one set up, and then I can just start calling them. I can start calling their phone numbers, and once I've called them and I've done my little bit, I've dropped my voicemail, whatever, I move on to the next contact. Now, let's go back to this workflow and see what happens after I've done that. So let's say I've made that call. That means that we're stepping past this step. So I've called the prospect. The automation automatically removes them from the power dialer list, which is good because I don't want to call them again tomorrow. I've already made that call today. Next, it checks what happened with this call. Did we leave a message? Was there no answer? Because if there was no message and no answer, we haven't made contact. We haven't made that first contact. So we're going to continue over and continue processing them early. If we have made contact, what was the result? What happened with it? Was it a good result? Was it a bad result? And really that's what this decision is doing here, is it's checking the call outcome. That's that box that pops up after you call the prospect and the call is finished and you select left message or whatever the case might be. If it equals opportunity identified, well, that's good. We're gonna go over here and do stuff. Probably what we need to do here is add a task. Say, okay, the task now is book a demo or book a meeting or something like that, right? And the version going down here is they were disqualified. We've disqualified the prospect. We set their status to disqualified, and we're going to track that later inside a dashboard. So I'm just giving a little bit more detail on this first step because after this, we're just going to repeat it over and over again. So after we've left the message, the thing that we're going to do, we're going to automatically send an email follow-up. Hey, tried getting hold of you, couldn't get through. Here's a link to my appointment scheduler. Then we're going to wait 3 days, and then same thing. We add them back to the power dial list, and we wait for the salesperson to call. Once the salesperson is called, we remove them from the list. Hey, what happened with that call? Did they leave a message or something else? So if they left a message or there was no answer, we move down to continuing. If they didn't leave a message or no answer, if there was something else, we go over here and we decide whether it was a good outcome or a bad outcome. And then we go back down here, another email follow-up, another call, another check to see what's happened, and then our third and final email is over here. So this is an example of a sales sequence that we have in FunnelFLARE. If you've been with FunnelFLARE for a while and you don't have this in your account and you want it, contact support and we'll add it for you. Because this can be, again, a very powerful way of processing lots and lots of prospects. We can take lists of like hundreds of them. We can call them all. We can follow up with emails, and we can move through and put our best effort towards getting a hold of some of these contacts and prospects out there. So really good from that point of view. Now, I'm just going to touch a little bit on how we've customized it, just so you can see a little bit of how we've done it and kind of get some ideas on how you can customize this as well. So the idea here, all the same, no change over here, no change. Here's a change. So we've sent an email follow-up. Then we also, at that same point, we create a task to connect via LinkedIn. So this is something you might want to consider if LinkedIn is very popular in your market with your customers. We work with a lot of marketing agencies, and a lot of them are on LinkedIn. So this is a good step for us. This might vary depending on who your customers are and how they talk to you and how you contact them. So we have a task in there. Within 3 days, please reach out to this person via LinkedIn. Perfect. Then we go through, we make our call, we do our email, we wait a couple days, there's another call, and yada, yada, yada. Down here, we have another social outreach. So if we had them on Twitter, we might try them on Twitter or Facebook or whatever other social network that we have. And you can see that we actually run 4 calls in our sales sequence. So you can customize yours to add more branches if you want, and add on additional attempts to call out. And for us, the other thing we're doing with this sequence is that we're just adding a tag to them in FunnelFLARE just to show, yeah, this person finished on this date, and just keep that sticky on the contact. Up to you whether you want to do that or not. Going on up to our opportunity identified, you can see here that we have a couple of other options. So with our opportunity identify, we're setting status on the contact, we're tagging them, we're setting org as qualified, we're doing just a lot more kind of background work just to make sure that we've got lots and lots of information. This is all stuff that we can report on, right? We can report on how many orgs were qualified, how many orgs were disqualified, how many people did we call. So we have that separation between contact and organization. If the opportunity was not identified, what happened with it? Was it disqualified? Or was it perhaps qualified? Perhaps we even booked the demo. So if it wasn't disqualified, but it was one of the other possibilities, then probably what happened is we actually booked it right on the phone. So let's just tag that as, hey, the sequence was a success. I've got the date on there, and we're just tagging that prospect out. And that's, again, if I need to look at the contact later and figure out, hey, what happened with this contact, those tags can be just a quick way of saying, oh, that person was in this sequence, they exited this sequence, or we came out of that sequence with this outcome. So this is a pretty meaty sales sequence. I would definitely recommend starting with this one, customizing the emails, customizing the timing to how your industry works, and then going from there. But this is definitely a very powerful way of reaching out to a lot of prospects in a very systematic manner. So that's about all I had to talk about.